2-1. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are live now with round 2 of the Charlotte Pokemon 2018 Regional Championships here. We've got Connor Finton over here next to me. This is myself, Michael Canaves. We're happy to be bringing you this content. Really great matchup, actually, we have coming back. So, two faces that are not a stranger to this environment whatsoever. We've got Andrew Mahone. He's actually piloting a deck that seems to be pretty familiar to us with this Carbink, Zygarde, Buzzwole, Garbodor deck that still runs Max Elixir.
Yeah, if you look at this list, it's very similar to the one that Natalie Champagne took to second place at the St. Louis Regional Championships, which of course was the last standard regionals that we had here in North America. Yeah.
On the other side, we also have Jonathan Crespo. Crespo, again, another one that's not too... definitely no stranger to this stage whatsoever. He's actually won a regional by himself over with Philadelphia. I think that was back 2 years ago with his Trevenant deck that actually took a area really by storm with his Rescue Scarf innovation and everything in there. And today, he's actually going to be piloting 21 Pokemon Gardevoir, as I'm going to call it. It is a Gardevoir GX deck with Zoroark GX, but unlike what we saw last round, it's not Zoroark first, then Gardevoir. His primary focus is still on a heavy Gardevoir line with 3 Gardevoirs and 2 Gallades, a 2-2 Zoroark, and then the twist, he actually is still playing the classic 2-2 Sylveon GX as well. Connor, what do you think is probably prompting him to probably use that Sylveon?
I mean, if you look at his list, there's a lack of just draw and other supporter cards. I figure that a lot of it has to do with just consistency and setting up. He's getting rid of that thicker Zoroark line that we see in most of these Zoroark Gardevoir decks to use the Sylveon for setup. So instead of Mallow trade, stuff like that, to get your rare candy Gardevoirs, he's using the Sylveon to do kind of the same job that the heavier Zoroark line will do, as well as adding extra consistency early game to his deck.
Right. One of the things I like about playing Sylveon GX right now in a format like this, we just saw the release of Cynthia. Prior to that, you were seeing 4 copies of N in every single deck. Something I want to point out real quick on the prizes is we do see a double Acerola prize and a Hoopa? Oh, okay. So I believe we have the wrong deck list for Jonathan Crespo. So I don't think he's playing Zoroark Gardevoir.
It looks like there are 2 Jonathan Crespos in this tournament.
Yeah, I think we have an interesting turnout there. We'll make sure we correct that at some point. But we got Andrew Mahone. We know his deck. That one was right. And I didn't get to see what his opener was. He does have a Carbink break in his hand, so it'll be really interesting to see if he does open that Carbink. Andrew is going to start up the game, though, with this Buzzwole.
Okay, so it looks like Crespo's playing more of like a Wobbuffet, Hoopa, like a Locky Solly kind of deck.
Right. Now, I love something like this, and just to get a little bit of insight back on this deck. So I don't know how many of you guys have seen this. This is something I believe, if I'm pulling it right, this is a deck that was piloted by the Schultz brothers and a couple others at some of the recent international events. And it's actually based on Wobbuffet Break to give you above 120 hit points. So cards like Zoroark GX have a much more difficult time to be able to take you out with 1 hit. And then your game plan is to slow them down with your ability shutting off Psychic Pokemon's abilities. On Wobbuffet, you have Hoopa, who can't be damaged by EXs or GX, so it's all about slowing them down, removing resources, and making that happen.
What's interesting about this matchup is that if it is a stall deck with like any sort of energy denial and stuff like that, Mahone is playing Carbink Break, and Carbink Break is very good in matchups like that. Because you can just attack with Carbink Break's Power Gem attack, whatever Carbink Break's attack is, and you can attach 2 energy to your active Carbink. So yeah, he goes immediately, Nest Balls for the Carbink. I think that's going to be his course of action. Now, what is unfortunate for him is that he started the Buzzwole in this matchup, which I don't think is what he wants to do.
No, he definitely doesn't really want to see that Buzzwole, but I don't think it'll hinder him too much. He does play 4 copies of Guzmas and 4 Floatstones, so Andrew has a lot of ways to keep that Buzzwole out of the active and make sure he's able to continuously use that Carbink. Already having the break in hand, but Mahone, I think we're just going to see probably an energy attachment here, maybe a tool to bait out a Field Blower, but usually you want to be very conservative in a matchup like this and not use resources unless you absolutely need to. So we do see a pass coming from Mahone. Crespo will start out. You don't really see a lot from these decks in the early turns. We may even just see the Andy work, but he's going to go right into those prizes. He's going to use that Gladian. He's going to get to see them right from the beginning. He doesn't get to know what they are afterwards because they do get shuffled back face down, but he's going to be able to take either this Hoopa here if he wants an extra Pokemon early. He's got definitely a couple different options to be able to pull through from here.
If you looked at Mahone's hand, he didn't really have anything going on there. He had a couple energy, a couple Pokemon, but in this matchup, that's pretty okay. Like, it looks like Crespo's deck is built to deck Andrew out, not to take prize cards.
Right. So either which way, he's just going to be relaxing until he gets the card combinations that he needs to be able to start actually pulling off his different strategy combinations to put Crespo on the ropes and start putting the pressure into play. Something to note for Crespo as well, like something that he can do is I'd like to say he's probably running a few copies of Delinquent and Lucamine. So one thing that he can do is if Andrew tries to take that slower route, start building up resources in his hand. Crespo can be using Delinquent to just kind of start knocking cards out of there 3 at a time to start really removing Andrew's resources and try to stop him from playing that slower game.
Yeah. We did see that he's playing also Team Rocket's Handiwork, so if you're trying to hold back, there's another card. He can play it, throw a couple cards off the top of Andrew's deck. But yeah, there's really not much going on for Andrew here. He's going to swing, take his damage. But
I like this here, though, and I like the fact that he drew another strong energy here because he can actually do 50 to this Wobbuffet, and next turn he's holding a Fighting Fury Belt, so even if this energy gets knocked off, Andrew can actually just play the strong energy he has in his hand, Fighting Fury Belt, and he's got exact damage to knock out this Wobbuffet if he doesn't get healed with this Max Potion that Crespo's holding in his hand.
Yeah, I expect the Skyla to go grab some sort of card to grab another Pokemon as well, or maybe a draw card. He's grabbing an Enhanced Hammer, so he's just saying, okay, I'm going to get rid of that energy, heal my Wobbuffet, and just give Mahone... Let's see what Mahone does in response to this this early game.
And I mean, this is one of those matchups that, I mean, it's going to be really tough for Crespo just because of that Carving Break. He's going to have to try to pull off some sort of strategy to be able to kind of like lock something up at some point, but if Mahone can just keep getting a float zone out, keep getting to use that Carving Break, I mean, he's putting damage down and getting all of his strongs and other energies back at the same time. He's going to make it extremely difficult for Jonathan to be able to play the resource game.
Yeah.
So we do see a card drawn from Crespo here to start his turn. He's, again, not really looking to be too good and straight. Going to see a Max Potion probably come down here. He needs to make sure he doesn't just outright lose the game here.
Yeah, I would like to see another Pokemon come down as well. I guess it does open up the Guzma out, though, for Mahone, so maybe he's trying to avoid that. We see another Skyla come down for a Bridget. So he is thinking, I want to get some more Pokemon down. I don't want this one Wobbuffet to get knocked out and then I lose.
Taking a look, we did end up getting a copy of this deck, so this is actually a little bit less than what I was kind of talking about. There's not going to be any Wobbuffet breaks. It's actually going to be something very similar to a combination of the deck I just talked about and a deck that was piloted to a decent finish at Memphis Regionals as well by Yoshi Tate. It's got a Xurkitree GX in here. It's got a Wishiwashi GX. You can run us through a couple of these cards. Like, talk us a little bit about some of the strategy that he's going to have to do to go against this carving that he's going to have to deal with.
Yeah, so one cool thing he can do is you see that Xurkitree GX. If Mahone doesn't know that he's playing the Xurkitree GX, he might attach a strong energy to that Carbink, and then Crespo can just leave the... He can just leave the strong energy on the Carbink and sit there and wall with the Xurkitree while he takes a few turns. Now, Mahone does play a Garbotoxin, but then at that point, he's going to have to try to get this Garbotoxin out that I'm assuming that he's not expecting to have to get out throughout the entire game.
Right.
Wishiwashi GX, of course, just has a lot of HP. It's just going to sit there, take multiple hits. Mahone's Pokemon aren't going to be doing a ton of damage. The Buzzwole does do quite a bit when it gets powered all the way up, but it isn't going to be one-shotting super easily, and if he's powering up a Buzzwole, it's very susceptible to just getting like Enhanced Hammered, Flare Grunted, down to just one energy, and kind of clearing his board of the energy that he throws on that Buzzwole.
Yeah, I see this going kind of getting pretty fast for Jonathan. I mean, one of his biggest Pokemon on the deck are Hoopa that he plays 3 of, and Hoopa's just something that it's not going to be difficult for Andrew to get around. I mean, he's got Carbink. Carbink can literally just come up and one-shot the Hoopa with his strong energy. It has an attack that's 40 damage, 60 with the strong, and Hoopa is weak to fighting, so it's not going to take him much to be able to deal with that at all. We did see the Xurkitree GX come down, and Jonathan following up that with an N, so he is looking for a fresh hand of 6, but I'm not really sure what he's going to be looking for off this. He does have his Enhanced Hammers to try to rip off the strong energy. I don't believe he's playing any Crushing Hammers, so he's not going to be able to get rid of the basic fighting at this turn that he played that supporter, but at this point, we're just going to be kind of seeing where these fresh hands and everything are going to be able to take them. We do see him get the Enhanced Hammer there. He opts not to play it, though. He says, I don't really care about that strong energy. I don't really want to give you the double energy in the discard pile just yet anyways. So, just kind of waiting up.
He knows that this Carbink Break is here, and he knows what the Carbink Break is going to do to his deck. We do see a float stone on the carving. We could see a Guzma strong energy knock out the wishy-washy play here. And that's exactly what is...
That's where he's going.
Yeah. And I think that's smart. You need to take your prize cards here when you can get them.
Yeah. If you have an option to do it, you absolutely want to make sure you take your prize cards. So that's what the deck's meant to do. It's meant to deny the prize cards from you in the first place. Didn't actually even need the strong. Could have been any fighting energy. So if he actually can hit it off this max elixir, I can probably see him holding on to the strong energy in hand. But looks like he's going to end up being forced to play it after whiffing that max elixir.
I would have liked the max elixir so that he's able to use that strong energy next turn on the carbink.
Right.
If anything, if none of his Mahone's energies get discarded, he can retreat and use carbink to start powering up the Buzzwole back and throw basic energies on it so that he's able to knock out the circuitry on the bench. I think the circuitry might end up being his real difficult. It might be real difficult for him to deal with this game. So
right, that's going to actually probably be the biggest problem card for him. Which Mahone, all he has to do is just play smart. You have to just make sure you can get rid of the energies by retreating the specials, and then eventually get the basics back into play with the carbink break. So as long as you just kind of play your pieces correctly and you don't get too ahead of yourself, the circuitry can definitely be played around, but it's going to be one of Jonathan's big things. And obviously, he clearly thinks the same thing because he just promotes the circuitry here. We're probably going to see this Enhance Hammer from his hand actually come down this time.
Yeah, I could see him. I could also see him holding it. He might want to just say, "Okay, you can't hit me with this," and just draw and pass. There's nothing that this Buzzwole isn't a threat right now. He can't do. Yeah, Skullgrin I like. He could discard a basic energy if there was one on that he was trying to attach to the carbink. So now we're just going to pretty much...
There's that Guzma, though. That's actually really nice because that'll put Mahone right back to this even price count that he was kind of looking for. Well, if he can actually get a max elixir too and pull off that strong energy in the discard pile, that'll be pretty nice.
Mahone did take 2 prize cards, or he's taking 3 prize cards. Yeah, never mind. So he does retreat.
Let's see what he's going for. He wants to be able to get that energy down. No, actually, never mind. I'm just wrong.
Yep. He's getting ready to power up this Buzzwole, getting ready to try to knock out this Circuitry. Because once he knocks out this Circuitry, he only has 1 prize card left, and eventually that carbink will get there to knock out the Hoofa.
And Circuitry, everything in the active here is just not something good for him. He doesn't want to really be able to take a free hit. If Mahone just can hit a fighting energy off of this Cynthia, that's going to be huge. I believe it is a mandatory effect for carbink to attach the energy, so he actually is going to be forced to put those strongs back onto the Buzzwole.
You can put them on the carbink as well.
Oh, that's
so he's going to throw them on his
yourself.
active, power up the active so that it can knock out the Hoopa, and just get a basic on the Buzzwole.
Right. I can definitely see that one going that way. But you didn't get the fighting energy either which way. We see only just a parallel city, which isn't really going to do anything in this scenario. I think we're probably going to end up just seeing a pass from Mahone at this point.
That's what I would assume.
Crespo, easy card. He's actually got 2 Enhanced Hammers in his hand. Again, don't really need them because I think at this point Mahone doesn't really want his special energy in play unless you absolutely need it.
Yeah, this is going to play the end.
Yep. So Crespo looking for new 6 cards, but again, this is one of those situations I'm not really sure what you're looking for. A counter catcher wouldn't be bad because you do force the Buzzwole to boot. I mean, it doesn't even really actually accomplish anything. Because then if he just draws the 1 fighting, he just retreats. He's already got the 2 energy and reattaches them. This has got to be a very difficult position for Crespo. You just got to feel disheartening to know that your entire deck strategy is almost just completely foiled by this 1 card, this carbink that's just going to be able to just continuously... Andrew can't lose the resource game if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, I bet Jonathan going into this day was like, okay, if there's like 1 card I don't want to play against, it's this carbink, and that's what he ends up seeing.
And only on his 2nd round.
Yeah, only on his 2nd round. But for him, Mahone's hand is completely dead. It's Guzma, Garbodor. There was another Pokemon it looked like in there, but nothing that's really going to get him anywhere going through this game.
I believe it's a Lele.
Ooh.
So he's going to have options in turn.
Yeah, no, so we see a Delinquent. Yeah, there's no Lele. It's Guzma, Carbink, Garbodor.
So he's going to be forced to get rid of one of the Guzmas, which is actually pretty important. You want to be able to get Guzma. He may not need more than 1 more to finish this game out, to be able to take out that Hoopa, but it's definitely not the resource that you want to go away.
Yeah, for sure. What do we see? Mahone has the basic
Whoa,
fighting.
that was like actually the perfect card for him to draw off the top of the deck besides maybe like a draw card to go into the basic fighting and have more things in hand.
Yeah.
But that gave him the knockout on the circuitry, and at this point, he's just at one prize.
Yeah.
I don't think Crespo is going to be playing this game for much longer.
Yeah, pretty much at this point, it's just wait until Mahone draws into his energy to attack with his card bank. The only thing that Crespo can try to do here is stall this Buzzwole active. I expect we'll see some sort of energy removal this turn, because right now the Buzzwole can just retreat. If Mahone got a prize card that can let him draw some cards or just another energy, he's in a bad spot.
Yeah, he actually has no physical way to remove 2 basic energy in one turn. Yeah. The only way to remove basic energy for him, there are 14 Flare Grunt and a copy of Plumeria. So he's going to be able to attack with Buzzwole next turn if Andrew can even find an energy. And seeing this end played down, that means that Buzzwole is going to have all 3 energy. I mean, granted, the only thing on the board are the Hoopas, so you don't have to worry about anything if Jonathan's not playing anything down, but he's definitely going to be able to at least retreat this card bank, into the card bank as fast as he wants.
Crespo did decide to play an N. He used a double puzzle. I'm not sure what he grabbed with his second card, but he did grab the N. So Mahone put Mahone down to 1 card.
I think Mahone just drew a basic fighting. This is 1 card. I'm not 100%, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah, he's just it looks like he's getting ready to retreat this Buzzwole.
I'm interested to see to make sure, but I'm almost certain he just drew a basic fighting. Nope, never mind. Okay. Mahone contemplating his actions here. Opts to just go for the card bank play here, because by putting card bank active, it forces Mahone to, like Jonathan, to want to have to Guzma.
He's the counter catcher.
And the thing is he has 4 Flare Grunt, but he only has 1 Plumeria. Team Flare Grunt only discards the energy off the active, so being on the bench, it was more safe. Again, not too relevant except for the fact that he needs to be able to retreat, obviously, again, into this card bank.
Unfortunate double tails for Crespo on the Rocket's handiwork.
Nope.
But it looks like he's getting ready to Sycamore here.
I think that was an Ultra Ball in his hand, so
okay.
if he...
Yeah, Ultra Ball.
He does play 2 copies of Tapu Lele, so he can grab a Sycamore here. Definitely a couple different things that he can go for. I mean, Sycamore, if he can find an energy, I don't believe he's not playing any copies of Field Blower. So that Fighting Fury Belt is going to be stuck on that Buzzwole. He's not going to be able to retreat it and attack with Carbink at the same time this turn.
At least here he gets a fresh new 7, maybe drawn to a Guzma for next turn. But that's the only way. He's going to have to manually retreat this Buzzwole or Guzma.
I'm kind of okay with just attaching a fighting to the Carbink here this turn, just because, again, he would literally need to either have his second counter catcher and his Flare Grunt, and a Flare Grunt, or he would need his only copy of Plumeria to be able to have to discard that energy off the Carbink. So I would definitely be fine with an attachment there, and I think it would put Mahone in a really comfortable spot.
Mahone's thinking about benching that Trubbish. If he does bench the Trubbish, he can get his Garbotoxin going, which will allow him to hit these Hoopas, which could also be big.
Yeah. So he definitely has multiple paths to victory. See him contemplating it. I think he's going to go with putting that Trubbish down. He's worried about it getting stuck active, but I think having that Buzzwole with the Fighting Fury Belt is honestly going to still be the best target for the rest of the game to bring active, knowing that you don't play any Field Blowers.
Yeah. So I think the correct play is to bench the Trubbish here. Just gives him more outs in case of an N to start hitting these Buzzwoles. He does have the energy and the Guzma in hand.
I don't see there being any downside whatsoever to putting that Trubbish on the bench.
Because like you said, every single time that Jonathan here is going to have a target to bring up, he's going to bring up that Buzzwole with the Fury Belt on it.
Right, because of the fact that you can't put a float stone on it or anything like that. It makes it much more difficult for it to move. It means that the only way he could actually move is playing his own Guzma or manually retreating it with the full energy cost. Parallel City is coming down for Jonathan, so he's going to lock Andrew down to 3 bench, meaning he's not getting another Carbink, a Zygarde, or anything like that, or even a Lele.
Yeah, more importantly is the Lele.
Right. We do see the end coming down for Crespo as well. So Crespo is just saying, like, hey, you wanted to draw some cards? No, you're going right back to 1. He's going to keep the pressure on. Crespo knows that, like, one of the only ways that he's going to be able to win this game is if he can somehow run Andrew out of energy without, like, the Carbink coming active, with either getting rid of him off the Buzzwole, or if Andrew starts attaching him there, or consistently Guzming up things to make sure that Carbink doesn't go anywhere, or using Team Skull Grunt when he thinks Andrew's holding the energies. There's ways of doing it, but it's going to be a very uphill battle.
Now, this is how he does it, though. He gets the Flare Grunt there, and the Buzzwole clears Andrew's board of energy cards. So I do expect that we're going to see Andrew pass here until he draws into a card that lets him switch this Buzzwole out of the active position.
Right.
Interesting to note, he did not attach a fighting energy.
And we're going to see a Team Skullgrunt come to him from Jonathan to make sure that he grabs anything that's in his hand. He's going to probably wait till Andrew's a couple more cards ahead on his hand, but he's going to eventually just he's going to do whatever he can to rip those out.
The cool thing about these decks that are like the deck that Crespo's playing in other similar decks is they can get down to this one prize card situation and just sit there and grind out this game the rest of the time through. He does hit the Guzma, which is very big. He hit the Guzma just in time. I think that was his last one. If not, maybe two left.
One or one more left.
Yeah. Do we have a fighting energy? We do have a fighting energy.
He's not taking a knockout though. He's only going to be able to do. He's going to be able to set up a 2-shot because of the weakness, but he's not actually taking the knockout just yet.
Yeah. So he doesn't win this turn, but he does get the energy acceleration, which is very important.
It's huge because even just one energy acceleration off his card rank sets Jonathan back quite a bit. Because he can power up the Buzzwole, he can power up the Lele, he can power up whatever he wants simply because he's going to have the option of Garbotoxin shutting off this Hoopa eventually. Yeah. He's not restricted to using the card bank. There's no requirements for him whatsoever because he decided to put that Trubbish down.
Yes. So yeah, the Trubbish just gives him an out to get this Garbodor out, shut off the abilities that are trying to stop him from doing damage to Crespo's Pokemon. We will see... do you know what the attack's name is?
I believe Power Gem is the 40 attack one. I think this... I don't remember the name of the attack itself, and I don't want to give you the correct name itself.
Yeah. But it does attach 2 energy from the discard pile to one of your fighting Pokemon.
Diamond Gift. That's the attack name.
Diamond Gift.
Correct. It does 20 damage, and it takes 2 energy out of your discard pile. It can be special, it can be basic, so he can grab the Strongs if he felt he needs to, and he can also attach it to himself, as we mentioned earlier. So, but on Jonathan's side, right now he's just playing the conservative. He's counting everything he can for Andrew. He knows that this matchup is not favorable for him. If he can win a game 1, it's going to be at least another 10-15 minutes before that happens. And then from there, he's going to have to just hope that a game 2 is just not able to complete. I think that's really his best strategy to be able to try to actually come out with this a victor as opposed to even maybe a tie or the loss, of course.
We're already 20 minutes into the round.
Right.
If a game takes another 10, he can potentially grind that last game out.
Yeah.
And take that one game win.
Skyla does come down for Crespo here, just getting through his deck, trying to figure out what he wants, if he's going for an immediate out or anything, but does decide to go for this Trubbish play here to grab it out. Now, this is again fine, because if you'd grab either which way, it puts Crespo in Mahone in almost the exact same scenario.
Ooh, and I think Mahone top decked the Floatstone.
But I don't think he cares to use it yet.
Yeah, I think it does make sense to hold off until you draw into another energy, so you can take a knockout with a Carbink.
The only reason he might play is I think he has a Lily in his hand. So I think he might want to draw up with Lily. Nope, he says, no, I'm just going to go with this. I'm going to keep putting the pressure. I'm going to keep getting damage in. Sure, this gives you the option to be able to do the counter catcher or the Guzman play again. And this time you can grab the Lele or something like that. And he's just loading up this Carbink.
He just says, okay, knock this out now or else I'm winning.
Right.
Or figure out a way to deal with this board.
2 turns. Crespo's currently in that position. He does still have his Enhance Hammers left, so he's definitely got ways of making sure that this is... Whew, there you go. That's something that helps. If he can get rid of the strong energies.
He needs to get rid of both of them, because just one on the Carbink is enough to knock out this Hoopa.
Because he does have that second attack that does 40 damage as well. Strong energy putting it to 60, enough for the knockout because of the weakness on Hoopa. Now Crespo is deciding to attach his 1 lightning energy onto this Hoopa. I'm thinking just because he doesn't want to draw it again.
Yeah. The circuitry's gone. There's no reason to keep it in the deck.
Right. He doesn't really do anything to Andrew in the sense of Andrew had exactly 1 card in his hand anyways, so he goes from 1 to 1. It's just going to be a different one. That's about it.
Crespo's just really trying to hit these Enhanced Hammers, get rid of these 2 energy. You can hit Double Puzzle maybe, 2 Enhanced Hammers. He needs to get rid of these strong energies now.
Not mistaken, there's 1 strong and 2 fighting in the discard pile for Mahone, totaling a total of 5 out of his 9 fighting between board and discard pile, and 3 out of his 4 strong between board and discard pile.
Ooh, he hit double Enhanced Hammer off the end.
Wow! That's pretty...
it saves him a turn, because of course...
Yeah, it doesn't actually do a whole lot in the long term of things, and Andrew hitting this Cynthia here, he's just making sure like that Crespo's forced to play an N over and over again. And so far, I'm pretty sure that Crespo doesn't have any physical copies of N left in his deck because he only plays 3. So if he wants to play another one, he's either gonna have to Lusamine first or use one of his last 2 Puzzle of Time if he wants to play it literally this turn.
Yeah, Crespo's definitely running out of resources here. He already played both counter catchers. He's only playing 2 copies. I'm assuming that's got to be all 4 enhanced.
It's all 4 enhanced. That is.
So, I mean, we've only seen 1 Flare Grunt come down and only 2 puzzles come down. Well, he hits the Garbodor and an energy.
1 Skull Grunt, 1 Rocket's Handiwork, I think, and this is there is a game. That's going to be going into game 2 with Andrew Mahone starting off as a victor. Not the situation you want to be in if you're Jonathan Crespo with only 27 minutes left on this clock. The time is ticking, and for a deck that doesn't take prizes, Andrew, outside of already having the favorable matchup here, he now has a favorable time scenario as well. So he has 2 different win conditions on his belt, both the natural, take my 6 prizes, bench you out, whatever I need to do to win, or really just make sure that Crespo doesn't win.
Yeah. And the thing is, like we were saying, Crespo takes a lot longer to win a game than Mahone does here. Mahone, I think going into this game, he's definitely going to want to start. He knows that he wants these carbings early. He'll probably try to avoid attaching a Fury Belt to his Buzzwole this game. I feel like that was really what hurt him the most last game, was that the Buzzwole had the Fury Belt, could never get the Floatstone down in retreat.
Well, what hurt him, it was one of those risk-reward things. Being able to take out that early prize on the Wobbuffet was big. Like you said, when you get a chance to take your prizes, you want to be able to do it. So it was really just one of those things where you had to make a call. And you made it, and yeah, it did hurt him in the end. And it's really tough to be able to say, was it worth it for the scenarios that it was put in? I mean, he came out the victor, so really that's the important part in the bottom line at the end of the day. But we are going to see Crespo starting off this game going first this time. A little bit different than the last one, but Mahone doesn't really need to do anything all at the beginning anyway, so he's just going to be able to kind of relax. He does want to see that Carbink Trubbish, but it looks like he's going to open with a Buzzwole again.
He does. So if you're Crespo, this is ideal situation for Mahone to start the Buzzwole.
Talk about ideal situation is Mahone having 4 energy.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
That's definitely something that Crespo wants to see. And Crespo's prizes are just a mix of 6 different individual cards. So, yeah, the Puzzle of Time being in there is probably the worst one. But overall, pretty healthy prizes on Crespo's side.
And Crespo is playing that Gladian, so he can go grab that Puzzle of Time if he needs it. Yeah, the 4 energy on Mahone's side is going to be huge.
It's going to slow down his starts. It's going to slow down his max elixirs. 2 of them are strong, so it's not going to affect the max elixirs as much as it could, but it's going to affect the pace of the game significantly. Mahone's not going to be able to put down the early pressure as easily as he was last game because of it, and then from there, that means he's not really going to be able to take his prizes as fast to get those energies.
Yeah. Now, I do think Mahone still can win this game if he just goes and gets this Carbink out and does what he needs to do with the Carbink, because the Carbink powering up multiple attacks is just so strong.
And would you see a second Buzzwole coming down and probably the Carbink here? Yeah. He's got both of them in his hand. We might even see this Max Elixir hit the board. He may end up wanting to hold it just because timing, it's pretty important in this matchup. You attach your energies and everything, and he hasn't searched his deck yet, so he doesn't know how few energy he has actually in his deck. And being that he has 2 of his basic fighting in his hand, 2 of them in his prizes, there's only 5 basic fighting in his deck that he's going to be able to even get off that Max Elixir.
I'm wondering if Mahone's going to take his time to check his prize card. He does not.
So he's... I think he's trying to actually go back in real quick. He's like, wait, can I actually look real quick? I've got time. I forgot. I'm the one that needs to play slow. Let me go in here again.
Because your energies are definitely something in this matchup that you want to know how many you have. Yeah.
You see a really quick skim there again. I actually don't think he caught it.
I don't think he did either. I think he was checking for Carbink stuff, maybe.
Yeah. I think he was looking for the more crucial things just to make sure he knows he didn't have both of his break prize because he had one in his opening hand, but probably was just looking for a couple clutch things here and, making sure that his whole guard line wasn't prized, something like that.
Yeah, you don't assume that you're going to prize 4 energies in the game. It's not something that you always check, especially in decks like this that play a lot of energies. Maybe if you're only playing 4 DCs or something like that, you'll check your energies every game. But a lot of players don't check every single prize card they have. They'll just check a couple
and he still hits the Max Elixir anyways. Wow. That is incredible.
If he does hit Floatstone Max Elixir and hits the Max Elixir, he does win the game. That's a little bit to ask for.
Win the game if he pulls that off. It's a lot to ask for considering what's in his prize cards, I feel. But I mean, it's definitely a reality. It can happen. You know, we see these crazy scenarios come through. I've seen it time and time again, and some of them in some of the most inopportune situations on winning in or top four finals matches. It's the last way you want to lose a match like that, but it's the reality sometimes. We see a Floatstone, last card max.
Oh, if he hits it.
And he has another fighting in his hand,
yeah,
too.
he has another
so
fighting.
If
he's still fine for next turn, but
if he hits it with 3 fighting between hand and board, 2 in there, he's literally got 4 fighting energy in his entire deck that he would have to be able to
he's
find.
ultra balling away in energy. I hate that because
But he doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
Yeah. So he doesn't realize that that's actually a really... I mean, in the end, it's not that bad because Carbink, but...
But if he still doesn't realize it yet.
No.
I mean, he does grab the carving break. He does know, okay, if I don't hit this elixir, my attack next turn is, you know, do my 20, power up my guys.
Right. He's got a few different options. He'll probably play the Max Elixir before the Floatstone. I don't think we'll even see the Floatstone come down if he doesn't actually hit the Max Elixir.
Sure.
Because exactly what you said. He'd rather probably just use the Carbink attack next turn.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a very stressful moment for Crespo as he sees this.
Oh, he whips it. He does.
I saw the strong and it faked me out for a moment. I was holding my breath. You just heard nothing on our end because the silence was killer. Just trying to see what was going to happen with those 6 cards.
I'm curious to see what Crespo does on his turn. Is he gonna? He has to get more Pokemon down.
With 6 energy now not being accessible to Mahone between board, discard pile, and prizes, that's literally almost 50% of his energy cards that have already been seen physically.
Crespo does top deck the Bridget, and immediately is like, okay, we're not doing this.
we need to last a couple more turns. Come on, give me some time. Let my Hoopas go in first as well. You know, at least they'll slow down the Buzzwole until that Garble Toxin comes into play. There's no Trubbish down, so. All right, so Crespo, though, coming here. Crespo actually just sends a pass right back to Mahone, so not advancing his state. The only thing he really did this turn was say, well, I'm not losing next turn. That's about it.
Yeah, but what really was there for him to do? He doesn't play Crushing Hammers. There's no way to get rid of these energies on the bench.
A Plumeria, but even then, I'd rather have Pokemon to make sure I'm going to live.
Yeah. You don't want to risk a elixir energy attached and then just losing the game.
As Crespo doesn't know either that all those energies are priced, so he doesn't know that it's going to be as difficult to pull off as it is. Carbink Break does hit the board, though, here. Mahone has some options here. He doesn't have the fighting energy in his hand anymore because he opted to discard it, but he does have the strong at least. So he can still go in with Carbink this turn. He can go in with the Buzzwole if he just wants to take a knockout, but I think he's got a couple different ways that he can move this.
He just decides to go, okay, I'm going to go Carbink. I'm going to attack and power up. Probably just throw that energy on either on the active and just say, okay, we're going to do this for the rest of the game. Or he can throw it on the Buzzwole. I think I prefer putting it on the active. It also means that he can knock out the Hoopa more easily.
And we've seen already how difficult it is for Jonathan to discard more than 1 energy in a turn. So putting him in that position where you really are going to make it a lot more difficult for him to stop this train, stop this process. There's almost no reason for Jonathan to play 1 energy removal card. He needs to literally play both together. Because if not, it's a complete waste of resources.
It's a wasted card. You can just go use Carbink's Diamond Gift Attack and just get those energies right back. So yeah, like as you said, it's completely useless to use those now. He did top deck a Flare Grunt this turn, so if he does have the Enhanced Hammer, well, he already played a supporter card, so
he does go with the Gladian. He went with the Hoopa, and I think just because in his head, he's like, well, I need as many Pokemon to get through these Buzzwoles and these Carbinks as I possibly can. So that was really his only way to be able to do it. And he doesn't play anything like Rescue Stretch or anything. The only way to get back Hoopas if they're getting knocked out is Puzzle of Time. So wants to make sure he has access.
Interesting to me that he didn't grab the puzzle. Seeing that you have one of your 4 puzzles in your prize cards, you'd assume that you'd want to go grab it. But
I was kind of expecting him to, but at the same time, I don't think it's that there's any clear path right there on that one. You know, getting the Hoopa, he's definitely wants free Hoopa and everything in this matchup just because you force the Carbink and everything out into that active position to be able to use Flare Grunts. And Trubbish does hit the board now, so after this turn, that means Garbotoxin is a threat at any point. So those Hoopas may not necessarily be able to hold down the fort as strong as they want to.
Mahone's-
You see Lele come down for Mahone. He does grab a Cynthia. He's going to be able to set himself up to draw a fresh new hand. I don't know if he's going to bother playing it this turn because he doesn't really need anything.
Well, he already played a supporter card this turn. He top decked the Sycamore.
Oh, yes,
And played
right.
it immediately. He also has 2 Guzmas in hand, which can be useful here. Just Guzma take a knockout on Hoopa, take a couple swings. Here we'll probably just see a power gem for 60 because there's really no reason for him to use that first attack on the Carbink without having an energy in the discard pile.
Nope, there's no energy in there.
So
So
he just does 40. The math doesn't really matter, but
I don't really know that there would have been I don't think there's any way to do 10 instead of 30 damage.
No.
You know, at any point.
we do have the Enhanced Hammer and the Flare Grunt.
Actually, this could matter because if he had done the 60 attack there, now he could just use a basic fighting and
Yeah,
20
it
and
is
knock him
relevant.
out. So that math is going to be relevant. That's assuming he wanted to knock out the Wobbuffet. Maybe he wanted to leave it there when they acted a little bit longer.
We have to assume that he wants to take knockouts in this matchup as fast as possible. I'm interested to see if he drops this Floatstone. He does decide to. There are 2 copies of Field Blower in Crespo's deck, so those can come down. Mahone is playing the 4 copies of Floatstone, though.
Right.
So Mahone does still have 2 Floatstones in the deck, which should be all he needs to finish out the game, and of course the 4 Guzma.
And as much as it's always an option to put a Fighting Fury Belt on a Garbodor, I gotta say this is probably the one matchup that you really do not want to do that in, especially when you're not playing your own copy of Field Blower.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last thing you want to do is put a Fighting Fury Belt on it and then end up in this weird situation where like your other Floatstones get like milled off the top, and I think that would instantly cost you the game from having a 4 retreat cost Pokemon stuck in the active.
Yeah. Mahone does whiff an energy card.
Yep.
But he has. Oh no, he doesn't have the. Yeah, so he's just gonna sit here and have to pass.
I mean, he's got a Max Elixir, but he can't get out of the active position anyways because that Floatstone went on the Trubbish.
Yeah.
So not really any reason to actually use it there. But we do see a Cynthia coming down from Crespo, so do 6 cards again. And again, when he plays this, that automatically signals to Mahone that my basic energy are safe. So it's almost like a sigh of relief for Mahone the moment that card comes down because, no Plumeria this turn. My Bulswell's energies are safe. Don't have to worry about a whole lot.
I'm wondering if Mahone even knows that there are Plumerias in that deck.
might not.
We have not seen one played yet.
Nope.
Crespo's draw is heavily shuffle draw, right? He doesn't play any copies of Sycamore.
Not at
It's
all.
all Cynthia and N.
And Skyla, what's up?
Mahone's probably assuming at this point that his basic energies are safe.
Right.
At least as long as they're on the bench.
I think, like, if you're in Mahone's position, you might assume that there's, like, 1 copy of Plumeria just because you usually want something like that in a Lusamine-type deck, just for the utility of having one. Actually, I don't even know if he has... Yeah, he does have Lusamine.
Yeah, he does.
I wanted to make sure I was assuming that there was in there. Now, coming down from Mahone's side, he's got the Sycamore, and he's actually just choosing not to bother with the Max Elixir because he'd rather just draw the fighting energy and attach it to Carbink than end up putting it on his Buzzwole.
And that's exactly what he's going to do.
And it's funny, the energy was in those top 6 from that Sycamore, so he could have gotten it, but it would have done exactly that. Just been a useless energy that he didn't end up wanting on his bench and would have rather preferred on that Carbink.
And here we do see that it was relevant that he did not do the attack for 60 on the active. But he just decides, okay, I have this Floatstone.
I actually thought he might have put I was expecting the Fighting Fury Belt on the Carbink there because that would have given him the knockout again with the 20
Carbink
damage.
isn't a basic Pokemon.
Ah, yes, that's a good reason to not use Fighting Fury Belt. That is a very good reason. Fighting Fury Belt is a tool that can only, it can be attached to any Pokemon, but the effect of 40 extra health and 10 damage only applies if you are a basic Pokemon. And since Carbink has been Break Evolved, it's no longer. But Crespo does start the turn with promoting Hoopa with that 30 damage on it. Skyla does come down to get the Field Blower and pull off 2 of these Floatstones. That's a pretty big move there because that brings Mahone down to just 1 more Floatstone for that Garbotoxin. So he's going to be able to use these Hoopas effectively again and force that Carbink back in the active spot.
Very interesting that he discards off the Carbink and not off the Buzzwole.
Yeah, I don't really know why he would have done that because you don't really ever want the Carbink active. I mean, I can kind of see both being valid plays just because you don't really also want the Carbink to be able to move after it uses the Power Gem attack without having to discard the energy.
Yeah.
So I think they both have, good options on either side. So we'll see how it plays out for him. Something else I want to put out, though, is Mahone did draw one of the 2 basic fighting energies off that last prize card.
So now you can go ahead and use Diamond Gift again with no real repercussions.
Nope.
With that retreat, he's just going to get those 2 energy back.
And actually probably just load him onto himself.
I would assume so.
He's probably going to get to move them basically off that Buzzwole, which is, I think he's going to be pretty happy about it.
Yeah. He does have a Guzma in hand, so even if something gets counter catchered up and stalled, then it doesn't really matter all that much.
I like the strong energy there because it does put you in a position where it's easier to start taking the knockouts on the Hoopa with your other attack, or with the 20 damage attack as well, if you can actually pull off getting the second strong. But the other thing here is that you've got to pull out those enhanced hammers eventually. The strong's not super relevant for Mahone right now, so if he's able to get Jonathan to use one of his enhanced hammers, it's kind of nice.
What the strong does do right now is it allows him to Diamond Gift for the knockout on this active. So he does want 1 strong on there,
right?
Just so he can try to Diamond Gift again, maybe power up this Buzzwole on the bench. Double puzzle goes for Skylet and Field Blower. I'm interested to see what Crespo decides to grab off of this. It is the counter catcher. I'm going to assume the Garbodor comes active.
I'm actually thinking the Buzzwole, and he's why he grabbed the Field Blower, only because he's only got 1 Flipstone left in his deck. Where does he want it? On the Garbotoxin. So if you bring up the Buzzwole, you're forcing that Guzma or him to just kind of juicing that thing. But he decides, you know what? This Garbotoxin, bigger retreat, less chance of it doing damage. Let's make sure it gets stuck here as long as it can.
But as I said last turn, Mahone does have Guzma in hand, and he's going to immediately play it. I have to assume we're just going to take a knockout here. You could also go ahead and power up this Buzzwole on the bench. You are out of... he doesn't have a Guzma in hand, but he does go and grab another strong energy. There is a Fury Belt in Mahone's hand, which could be relevant at some point here. You can go Fury Belt, strong, and if you have a tool for your Garbodor, you can knock out a clean Hoopa.
Actually, quite a few different things that Fury Belt can be used for. I mean, it's going to be able to... It's an extra 20 damage because of the weakness on Hoopa. But for now, we're just going to see Crespo decide to go with the Handiwork. He does get 2 heads. That's 4 cards.
Ooh, basic fighting is big.
Well,
and a Guzma.
It's only the Guzma's pretty... I think the Guzma's bigger just because, of course, guess who's around? Good old Carbink.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not getting those energies away.
What's good for Andrew here is he can he can Diamond Gift the active for knockout, and go ahead and attach a basic fighting to this Buzzwole so that he has the knockout on the circuitry next turn.
Absolutely. Definitely something I like here. I mean, both players, despite the matchup being as universal everything it is, they're doing what they can to make sure that their outs are available. This is the kind of top tier play that you want to be making sure that you're consistently doing throughout an event like this in order to make sure you actually advance that 7-2 record to be able to make it into a day 2.
Mahone's like, where do I want to put these? I'd actually like to see both of them on the Buzzwole so they can retreat easier. And that's exactly
I wouldn't mind that, or you just putting up that Carbink.
Yeah,
I think it's excessive after a point, but...
Well, the issue is the circuitry here.
Yeah. This gives them an out to be able to actually just knock out the circuitry really, really easily. Mahone having taken 3 prizes, he just took another basic fighting. So his first 3 prizes that he's taken have all been energy. He's only got 1 of his 4 energies that were prized left in his deck.
Yeah.
And that Zygarde, which I don't know that it's going to be useful, but we'll see.
Yeah, this is looking very favorable for Mahone, just because this Carbink is just so strong against these energy removal decks.
You put it perfectly earlier. If Crespo could have said that there was any one card he did not want to see in this tournament, it would have literally been Carbink.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're probably just going to see a harder treat here, and then an Absorption GX.
I would say so. I don't really see any reason for him to not go down to 1 prize. I don't see any reason for him not to. He does lose the energy on his Carbink, which could theoretically put you in an awkward, risky scenario, but he's got enough left.
Yeah, he's got enough tools left, too, where he can just knock out this last Hoopa for game.
He shouldn't have to worry about this.
No, he does not take the energy. I don't think it's really relevant anymore. I think that Mahone's at a point where the energy isn't as important. He can, if he doesn't, maybe Mahone gets end, he can start to try to, if he ever draws into 1 energy, he can start to Carbink again, but at this point, he just needs a tool card to win, or
If Jonathan does not play an N here, then that's going to be the game.
And it's a Plumeria,
so that's going to be it. He's just got to be able to play the fighting through belt,
Float
Floatstone,
Stone
whatever,
anyway.
done. And that is going to be Andrew Mahone starting off this tournament at 2-0. You know, he has been on a tear lately. We saw his deck do well over at the St. Louis Regional, so coming back into this thing, you had to be able to expect this. From second place, you can't walk into this deck thinking that into this tournament without this deck being on your radar. And unfortunate for Crespo that he had to find it so early.
A lot of people also, they don't really respect the Garbodor decks the same, I feel. Especially like in a format like we're in right now. A lot of people aren't expecting Garbodor to be played. So a Garbodor like this, I feel like, is really strong going into this field.
What I like about this Garbodor list is a lot of the times the biggest downfall Garbodor is the consistency issues that you see, even with a deck like Buzzwole Garb, because they have to play less energies. They don't necessarily have the max elixir a lot of the times, whereas this, it's not a Garb deck primarily. You've heard us say this a lot today. You've got to remember what your primary focus of this deck is. The primary focus is it's a Buzzwole, Carbink, Zygarde beatdown deck. The Carbink is supposed to be able to help you use Buzzwole's second attack. Garbodor is just meant to be utility, so he's still able to keep that fluid consistency that you want to see in a 9-round tournament like this.
Yeah. So he's still getting his big attacker, still playing a very consistent deck, thick supporter lines throughout. But he does have that ace in the hole, that Garbodor, to shut off the abilities of whatever his opponent's trying to do, whatever draw or maybe energy acceleration that they have going on. So it's definitely a strong deck, and I can see him going very far in this tournament.
Right. You know, a Zoroark that's already weak to fighting is not very good against Buzzwoles, but a Zoroark that's weak to fighting and can't use its trait ability, that doesn't do a whole lot against Buzzwole. Yeah. So, you know, with that and everything, you know, I want to give our congratulations to Andrew Mahone starting off 2-0. Jonathan Crespo now at 1-1, still not out of this tournament whatsoever.
Absolutely.
I would not be shocked if we still see a deck like this continue to see play throughout the rest of the event. I would not be afraid to see Jonathan in the day 2 at this point. You're going to, you know, these are both top level competitive players, but with that, we are going to be concluding round 2. We're going to be coming back pretty shortly. We'll give you guys some time updates on round 3, but definitely stay tuned for round 3 at the Charlotte Pokemon Regional Championships. Got Michael Cannavas and Connor Finn.
Thank you for watching.